Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our podcast. My name is Hannah.
And I'm Rachel.
And this is the You Talking to Me podcast. Today is the last movie, right?
It's the first.
Oh. Guys, if we have not made it clear by this point, I don't always know what's going on. I just say what I want to say, and I go with the flow. This is the first movie of the month, not the last, okay? It is, what's the theme called for this one?
So this month's theme is animated features, which we chose Raya the Last Dragon to be the first one of the month, and this is unfortunately the last month of season 2, so it's going to be a little bit shorter than the other ones, sadly, but we will be back in November, don't worry.
Don't you worry. Yeah, I will give you a little glimpse of what happened in the movie. Raya and the Last Dragon tells the story of Raya. Raya is a girl who grew up in the Heart tribe. The Heart people are in charge of protecting the last dragon gem, but one day Raya trusts someone she shouldn't have, a girl named Namari, and it gets stolen. We flash forward 6 years, and Raya is on the search for the last lost dragon, Sisu. Raya finds Sisu, and they set out on a journey of getting back all the gem pieces to save the people that were turned to stone by the Drunes. The only way to save the people will be for Raya to have trust in the person who betrayed her as a child. Can she do it? Bum, bum, bum.
And we're going to spoil it.
Yeah.
She can do it.
She can do it.
All right.
She did it, people.
This is like, no joke, like my favorite film that I've seen in a very long time. I loved almost every part of it. The part that I didn't like, the only part where I was like, oh, this is definitely geared towards children, was the whole scene with the Khan baby the first time. I did not find that funny when it was like throwing its diaper at her and like running around chasing the baby. I was like, I can look past this because it's the only part that I didn't like, but I thought that was just like immature or annoying to me personally.
Yeah, I thought that it was a really good movie as well. The Khan baby, yeah, that part was not my favorite, and the animation was good, except for sometimes the animation bugged me. I'm not gonna lie. It's like some of the way the people looked. Yeah, I think it's like when they were talking, something was off with the faces, like the animals and the places and things. It never bugged me. It was something with the people where I was like,
Yeah, I think it was sometimes when they were talking, it was either off or like they were doing something weird. I don't know. But I will say, get my fun fact out right away, is that this movie was made almost entirely while people were working from home. It was a pandemic movie, and I think it's like you said, one of the best animated films I've seen in a very, very long time.
To add on to Rachel's fun fact, she said that this was made mostly when people were at home, and that is true. This film, in fact, was made by over 900 Walt Disney Animation Studios employees from their houses.
Oh my gosh, I can't even like believe that. That's so crazy. But I guess that's the power of animation, is that you can do it anywhere. Like you could just either like you just transport it somehow digitally over to someone else's computer, everyone have access to the same login, same workspace, and you can just pick it up wherever, and that just is nuts. That's crazy. I wonder if that's going to be like the future for a little bit on animated films, if they're going to, or if they really do like all being in the same space, because I wonder how that works in terms of like, checking on people's stuff, or like, giving people information quicker if they're in the office, of being like, oh, can you actually do this before you get started on it, etc. And so I'd be curious to see how they felt about doing everything from home.
Yeah, that would be very interesting to find out, because, I'm sure there's a mixed response to that question. There's going to be some people who probably felt that they could concentrate better at home. There's probably some people who felt like they couldn't even concentrate at all while at home, or that their creativity wasn't as good as at home. Because I think there is something about being around like-minded individuals. And I remember when we watched Soul at the end, I watched something that Disney Plus put up about the making of the movie. And they kind of had the same thing where everyone was working at home, and they said it just like took a lot longer because trying to share something with someone, you couldn't just be like, oh, look at this really quick. It was like, okay, I have to send this, and then you have to watch it, and then it's like, then I get a response, and like sometimes the internet glitches, something like that. So I wonder if also the production time is affected drastically or not that much. Did they plan to have a longer production time because they knew it was going to be from home? Like, these are all factors that I would be interested in finding out on how it affects the movie. And I also saw that most, if not all, of the voiceovers were actually done in the houses of the people as well. They had equipment sent to their houses, or they bought equipment. I don't know exactly, but they put up their little soundproofing areas and had their microphones and were recording it from home, which I feel like that might be a little weird. Like, if you're used to going in studio, how
I
different
heard
that is.
that voice acting is like one of the most boring things to do because you have to say the same line over and over and over again in like 100 different ways to make sure that like you have the right way to say it. I think I heard that it was like Tom Hanks said that that was like the worst part about Toy Story was just repeating stuff over again because you never know like in post like which one they're really gonna like the most, especially if you don't do it 100 different ways. They don't know which one they're gonna like most. Maybe they don't like any of them and you gotta do it again you know so I think that while voice acting could be very fun, maybe for like small indie projects or like small video games and things like that, because they don't have the time and money to pay you for 100 different versions of every line. But I think that could be so tedious. And having to do that at home, I'm sure you're like on call with like the director or whoever it is at the time that you're doing it. And maybe it's better because you can't like see the people watching you do it, especially if you're maybe a first time voice actor for a big production like this for this movie. That could be like really fun, but and maybe make it more comfortable because you're in your house and you're like surrounded by maybe nobody. Or I know one time I had to do a Zoom interview for a college and I kicked my parents out of the house. I was like, you better not be here because I am going to be so awkward if I know that you could possibly like hear me answering questions. Well, I told them they either had to be in the basement or gone. And I put a sign on the door saying, do not knock or ring the doorbell and stuff like that. I had to throw the cats downstairs like last minute because they just like forgot to before they left. I was like, no one's gonna make any noise during my interview. So I think that it could also cause stress like it did for me for my interview. So I think maybe if it was my first time though, I'd want to go into the studio. Or maybe I would be disappointed to be like, it's my first big gig and I have to do it at home. I don't know. What do you think, Hannah?
I think it would definitely depend on the person and what you're looking for. I don't know, because I definitely think there could be added stress, especially let's just say someone lives in like an apartment complex, and then let's say you are making the best sounds ever, or you feel like this line is coming out perfectly, and then the people above you decide to start tap dancing, like Rachel's neighbors. um you're just not gonna you're gonna be upset that that didn't go the way you wanted it to, because now there's noise in that clip which won't be able to be used. And I'm assuming for people that are in this job, I mean, not necessarily though, but a lot of times people would probably know that they're going to be with a lot of people, so they're expecting to have that community type feel, like you're going to work, you're going to the studio, you're going to be around people. But there might be some people in that group that would prefer to work alone, and they're like, oh, this is so much better that I get to do it from my house because I do feel a lot more comfortable just being in my space. For me personally, I think it would depend on the day. Certain days I'd be like, let me please record from home. I just would rather be at home. I can do this. And then other days I'd be like, no, let me go to the studio.
I was so shocked. So I knew nothing about this movie before watching it. I was so shocked when I heard Aquafina's voice for Sisu, and I was absolutely shocked because you think that, the last dragon, it saved all of us, all this stuff. It's going to be like this elegant creature. It's going to be like posh or something, maybe even mean. I don't even know. But it's like the goofiest, bumbliest, like silliest dragon character you could ever imagine. Like totally defying my expectations here. And it's so funny because all of the other dragon siblings of her have like these really cool powers, or like they make it seem like it's going to be like really cool powers, and then hers is like, I can swim really good. It's just really funny. And okay, when she said that, I thought her swimming was going to come into play like at the very end in the big end sequence, like, oh, I might not have that good of a power, it hasn't really helped us at all, blah blah blah. And then it was like going to be the final sequence, like her swimming saves the world or something. But it actually like happened so early when they just had to swim the boat away in like the first person that they like got. And so I thought that was cool. And then her real secret power was like being able to trust people or whatever. I thought that was really cute. Um, but what did you think about all of the different magic powers? Like they seemed very random to me. What about you? It was like glowing, shape shifting, fog, controlling the rain slash water, I guess, and then swimming.
Yeah, I thought they were random as well. I was like, how do these fit together and what are they going to be useful for, I guess, is what I was thinking also. Because when they're talking about this magic, I don't know, I guess typically my first instinct when I hear the word magic or I'm thinking about magic helping someone, it's not going to be like, oh, you can swim really good or you can make fog or make it rain. That's just not where my brain usually, it's like, you can fly, you can disappear, you can transport. Maybe we're too used to Harry Potter. I don't know. But I did think they were kind of random. And I don't know though. I think that it worked for the movie, obviously. And I really liked the way that the dragons were made. I like that they weren't these big fire breathing scary things. They have fur on the okay. It looked to me, if I'm describing this to someone who hasn't seen it, has no clue what these dragons look like. They kind of look, obviously it'd be bigger than a lizard, but I was gonna say, so the body's kind of like a lizard, but maybe it has talons on the feet. I honestly didn't pay attention to that, but it's a long body with a tail that kind of looks like a lizard, salamander type thing. And then the head looks more like that of a unicorn and a lion mixed together because it has a bigger nose like a lion and it has the hair that looks like a lion but looks like it'd be really soft. And then it has a horn, but not exactly a horn. It's just like something on the forehead. So it's like a lizardy lion unicorn. And they're fun colors.
Yeah, I was gonna say they looked, if you just had to pick one animal from afar for it that it looked like, it reminded me of a ferret. The way it was like long bodies with the like legs really far apart from each other, and it was like a squiggly type, the way they walked around and stuff. They were so weird looking, but they were really cute, and I liked that they were different. But they reminded me because they looked a lot like the, I think it's like the Chinese symbol of a dragon. Like it reminded me of Mushu from Mulan, but without fur, or with fur. So I think that was really cool because this film took different like Southeast Asian cultures and mixed them all together. There's like different types of martial arts from all of the different cultures. There's, the people look different depending on different Southeast Asian countries. And they just kind of melded them all together into this one land. I'm gonna sneeze again.
Also,
And
their fighting styles
yeah.
and weapons they used were
Hmm.
from different Southeast Asian cultures.
Which I thought was really cool. At first, when I heard about it, I was like, just pick a country and like have, the Disney character be from there, instead of like creating all these magical fake places. But I kind of liked it in the end because it made sense, and they made all these places seem like they were like scary and awful and like terrible people there and things like that. And besides, I mean, which I think it was Talon is the one where everyone steals from you, like pickpockets and stuff. I think it was Talon. Let me see. Yep, that's where the con baby was from. Other than that one, like everyone seemed like bad people or good people. Like that was the only one that kind of the whole time was depicted pretty poorly, and only it was only when like the baby and the monkeys that I didn't know what they were called. Like everyone else seemed to redeem themselves while they were in that place for the most part. Whereas I still think the baby was like used to con the guards and didn't like learn any different until like the baby and the monkeys got on the boat and were redeemed there. But everyone was bad, it felt like, at Talon, because that's where the old lady was and she like tricked Sisu and all that stuff. It was just weird to me. I don't know. Everyone else I feel like redeemed themselves for a portion of the thing.
I also feel like Fang um didn't seem like the nicest. Okay, we should probably explain. People are probably like, what are you talking about? So we already discussed how Raya is from the Heart tribe. There's different tribes, there's 5 of them, and they all are on this land. Well, it ends up being what's called Kumandra. I don't know if it's always called Kumandra or Raya is the one that makes that happen, but originally there's 5 different places. These people are very segregated. They stick to their people, they do what their people want, and they kind of don't like each other. Specifically, the Heart people are not liked by the other 4 tribes because they have the last dragon gem, and all the other people believe that it is helping the Heart people have prosperity, I believe is the word they use. But there's heart, talon, spine, tail, and fang. Correct?
Yeah, and they're all parts. The island area, the like land looks like a dragon, and so that's why each place is a part of the dragon's body.
By the end of the movie, they all come together and it's really beautiful and it's harmonious, and I don't know, I really love the way this ends. But we also briefly mentioned these things called droons. They look like little smoky blobs that are black with purple coming off of them, and they go around someone and it turns the person to stone. Do they really give a backstory as to? I was sort of confused by that the whole time, but
It was like this thing that was always there, and it was just waiting for. It was like disarray of some sort. I don't remember the exact word they picked, but when humans conflict with each other and like nasty emotions come out, that's when the Droon shows up and will start attacking people. So the Droon was like there, and then Sisu like saved the world with this dragon gem, is how the story goes. And the Droon went away, but all of the other dragon siblings and all the other dragons in general didn't come back. And no one knows why. And they really didn't say why. Was it because all the people didn't trust each other? Is that like still what it was?
I honestly don't know. Like I said, I was confused kind of sometimes as to why, and then why are these people just stones forever? You don't know how long some of these people have been stones for.
Right.
But
And when the dragon gem like showed up, the people turned back into people. but Ray, or not Raya, Sisu went into hiding, I guess, and or didn't go into hiding, like disappeared, like into midair basically, and was like put to sleep for all this time because when Raya discovers her, she thinks like it just happened yesterday, basically, and it's been 500 years. But it's not until Raya trusts Namari and brings her, which is, I'm gonna get into this later. Okay. She trusts Namari and brings her to show her the dragon gem, and they're like 12, I think, at this point. These kids, and Namari like has tricked her, and they go after the gem, and the gem breaks, and every tribe ends up stealing a piece. And that's when the Droon comes back, is when all of this like drama happens again. But the like stones like are supposed to kind of protect you from the Droon because it has dragon magic in it, and it'll go away if there's dragon magic around. Here was my problem with the main theme of the story, maybe. Okay, so a long time ago, when Raya and Namari were 12, like I just said, Raya trusted Namari and brought her to see the gem, and it went terribly wrong. When Sisu shows back up, she's like, at the end, is like, you need to trust Namari. You know, if you trust her and like be her friend and like do this stuff, you know, the world can be better again and things like that, you know. But I'm just sitting here like, why should she forgive her? Why should she be her friend or trust her? Yes, we saw that she's a changed person, you know, 6 years later, but Raya doesn't know that. She still works for Fang and almost killed Sisu and all these things. And Sisu's like, I trust you. And I'm like, bitch, no, don't. Like, she did trust her and she betrayed her. Why should she give her a second chance at this point? She literally helped ruin the earth with all this point. I just want to know why she has to trust Namari. Like, why can't she just didn't give her a reason to, because she did trust her and then she betrayed it so badly that all of this happens and her father is turned to stone. And so Raya's just like really bitter about this whole situation and feels some guilt on herself because she did something that she doesn't think that she should have, which she shouldn't have, obviously, like, but she's 12. But Namari and her have such a bad history. It's like, they say cut out your toxic friends. They say cut them out if they're toxic. I thought she should have kept Namari cut out. That's just me. What's your opinion on this whole situation?
Well, I'm a believer in cutting toxic people out for sure. I believe if people cross you to, a certain point, whatever that point is for you, it doesn't matter who they are. Goodbye, good riddance. Mom, if you're listening, which I know you are, I know I always say that. And my mom's like, what does that mean? Like, what if I cross you? And then like, well, if you cross me, like I'm cutting you out. Like, you're not part of my life anymore. And she's like, well, what does that mean? And I'm like, well, let's hope you never find out, right? So like I said, I do believe in the fact of like, if someone's bad, toxic, get them out of your life. However, I really think that this was showing an important lesson of sometimes people change. Obviously, sometimes people don't, but sometimes they do. And just because you do something once doesn't mean you're going to do something again. Now, this was also when they were like 12 or however old they were, and then it's later. And obviously, people grow and change as you age, mature. And so I think that it's just because this lesson, but what I didn't like is Namari then shoots an arrow at Sisu, and Sisu like does basically die, goes into the water, dead. Um, and after that, Raya still has to trust her but she knows that that's the only way that it's gonna save the world. And then I guess what I like is that they make Namari have to trust Raya too, because Raya, along with the other people who have been helping her to get back the gem pieces, which there's this man from one of the places, there's that Khan baby, There's this little boy, there's those monkeys. They all have turned to stone. Raya turned to stone. And then Namari's about to like try to get out of this space. They're in this collapsed area of the Fang land because the drones are coming and everyone's turning to stone. And she's about to try to escape. And then she looks back at the stone people and she puts all the pieces of the dragon gem back together. And she goes and she touches the stoned people, the people who have turned to stone, and she turns to stone herself. She had to trust that this wasn't going to be an end all be all, that she was not going to just stay a stone. And then, of course, because movies of Disney, they end happy. So, of course, they turn back from stone. It's like water from the dragon start raining down or something. And then they all turn back to human form. But they both had to put their trust in each other in that situation. And yes, I see it from both perspectives. I see it as like, yes, it's the ultimate trust you have to trust. But also, if I was in that position, I'd be like, screw you. You crossed me. I don't trust you anymore.
Yeah, I mean, if I was Namari, I would just look at the situation like, where am I gonna go? There's no water on Earth anymore because all the dragons, all the water got sucked up when Sisu died. Apparently, I think it's because, the dragons are the life of this world. And the Droon is going to take me. The magic in this thing is going away. The Droons are going to get me even if I get out. I might as well just try this thing because I'm probably going to last 10 more minutes, if I leave this place. So I don't know where she was going. Everyone else is literally turned to stone. Everybody else but her. So I was confused. I was like, she might as well just try it because she's going to die either way. But if I was Raya, like, I would have been like, you did this twice now? You killed Sisu and before you stole part of the gem? This ain't gonna work for me. So I would have been out. But because it's the thing is like, the big thing at the beginning is that when the gem came to be and it saved it, everyone should have been rejoicing and coming together, but instead they were like starting wars with each other because people just like to fight over stuff instead of coming together, which I thought was very accurate of the world that we live in. And while I agree everyone should come together, you're still not going to like some people. You're still not going to be able to trust people. Not everyone, but like you can't trust everyone, unfortunately. Even if we all just decide, world peace, like I'm still going to be like, that person was really rude just now. Like they cut me off. They didn't let me finish my sentences. They pushed me. Like, I don't know. People are still going to be people, and you're still going to be like, oh, I don't deal with that person. But I understand, this is a movie, this is a different world that we're living in, and I was just like, okay, I can go with it because I did almost cry at the end. Like, that's fine, giving me my emotions, bringing them to be here, and I'll overlook it, but I was not okay. I was like, for a while, like, why does she have to be friends with Namari? That was my like whole rant for like that section.
No, and I get that completely because then think about kids watching this, which by the way, if kids are watching this, I would say the drones are kind of friggin' scary in that one scene. I mean, I wasn't scared, but I was like, if I was like a 4-year-old watching this and there's this like dark, smoky blobs just coming in, turning people to stone, that's scary. Um, but like I said, how I can see it from both points of view, it's like, yes, teach kids the message that just people aren't always what they do. Sometimes people make a mistake and they feel bad about it and they truly change. And then you should trust them and give them the benefit of the doubt. But on the flip of that, if someone is doing this like terrible thing, don't promote to kids that they should always just trust someone. Because I do feel like this movie kind of promotes you just trust people, like you just need to trust people. And to some extent, sure, trust people. But also, I'm like, I literally don't
Stranger
trust anyone.
danger?
Yeah. I don't
Like,
trust anyone.
Like, unless you're in a world where literally everyone's turned to stone, do not just trust anyone who comes onto your boat and save them from people. Because if they're running from people, I don't know if it's the good people or the bad people that are trying to chase you. So I was just like, these are all children, basically. But I did think the little motley crew that they made on the boat was really fun. It was so random. You know, we got Raya and Tuk Tuk, who is the cutest thing I've ever seen. It was like a pill bug, but like furry. Like it had the outside shell of like an armadillo or whatever. And then it would fold up into a ball and could roll around. And then it could unfold, and it reminded me of the thing that they ate in the Emperor's New Groove at that restaurant. But on the inside it was like a little furry, like bear looking creature, and it was so freaking cute. And it was really small at the beginning, like this big, like a size of a phone, you know. And then 6 years later she's like riding it like a big wheel, and it's huge. It was the cutest thing. So I love Tuk Tuk. So yeah, it was Raya, Tuk Tuk, Captain Boone, who's like this 10-year-old kid who's the only one left of his family, and he has like this like restaurant boat, and all he wants is like to keep it going and stuff like that. And that whole scene of him like serving them, and she's like, we want to speak to the captain, and he like goes around, like fluffs up his hair, he's like, I'm the captain, like, because he's the only one there. Then we've got the baby whose name was like Noi or something, and then the three monkey things, and then the guy from Spine, I think it was. And they were all so fun. Spine, the guy from Spine was so funny because I just go, LOL, the guy from Spine is spineless, because he like wasn't mean, even though he knows he's kind of supposed to be. But he was the only one left of his whole tribe that didn't die. And, you know, they kind of make a little like note, or they hint at like he had a baby and a family, and he's really drawn to the baby, the Khan baby, while they're traveling the world and stuff. When everyone's family came back, the one that I cried at the most was Boone's. I was like, he has his family back, and they were all just so excited to see him. And I don't know, do they know how, like, do they understand time passing? Do they know that they've been stoned for a while, or do they just know they've been stoned?
I don't know. That's a good question. And if you think about it, so Raya, it was like at least 6 years later. I don't know how long this end war is that's happening for it to settle. But when this thing starts, Raya's Ba, or father, turns to stone, and he sends her off with a gem. And she transforms from this little child to this adult. You know, she's probably like 18 now. And then that made me think of Boone's family. So if he's like 10 now, he would have been 4. Like, how do they recognize him? You know?
Yeah, well, maybe they got to them later, you know? Like,
Yeah.
not
Oh, yeah,
everyone probably
maybe.
went at that time, but
True.
still.
Good point. Because it's like, then would his little sister be, I mean, would his older sister be his little sister at this point? Because, frozen in time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
Interesting.
That reminds me of the concept of Manifest. Have you seen that show or heard of it?
Mm-mm.
It's
I've
this,
heard of it.
yeah. So for people listening, it's just this show where people go on this plane ride, and they come back, and it's been like years, like 5 years or something. And, you know, everyone on Earth has aged, but these people have not aged. And so, like, this guy and his twin are different ages now, or like, people have remarried and stuff, and they come back and they look the exact same as when they left. And it's crazy. So that makes me think of that, because it's like, yeah, are the kids, maybe, I guess, hopefully they just went like within that year so that it really doesn't make a difference. But yeah, that would have been interesting. So that could be a fun little concept to go off of. But yeah, I was wondering that when you brought that up. I didn't even think about that part at all, because all the adults, it really doesn't matter that much if it's just like Raya and her father, because like he didn't look like he aged at all. I know he's already old, but he didn't look like he aged at all. So I wonder if there were like children who are like still 3, and then, because that baby, her mom must have just went, because she was a baby. Like, she wouldn't have been born. What if you were pregnant when you got taken by the, because they all like went like this, like they were standing with their like arms facing up or whatever. And I wonder if you like did that while pregnant. Like that would be so weird. When like
Yeah,
you
would you be
pregnant
pregnant
for
for like
years.
8 years?
Dude, I'd be like, absolutely not, never getting pregnant again if that happened to me. I'd be like, nope.
Never again. Yeah, it's interesting concepts, and some things obviously don't make sense because it's a movie, and that's just the way movies are sometimes. But overall, I do think it was good. I mean, I do like the message, but also I have some feelings about the message of trust because, yes, I believe you should trust people. However, don't trust just anyone. And I'm like, I'm be like, oh, practice what you preach. So I'm over here thinking like I genuinely, for the most part, I'm not a person who trusts people. Like I just assume the worst in people, which is obviously a flaw in my personality or something. But I'm also like, I've been crossed in my life one too many times to be just openly trusting of people.
I think I forgive like way too easily. I think it's like if someone crosses me, I can talk a big game like outside of it, like that person, they did all these terrible things, blah blah blah, can you believe they said this and like they did this after we did this for them, whatever. And then like if I'm confronted by it or they want to talk about it and like apologize and do all this stuff, I'm like, yeah, you're right. No, I forgive you immediately. I'm so sorry that I ever thought you were bad. It's like I always assume the best in people if I know them, I think. If they're strangers, I'm like, ew, you better not even look at me or I'll smack you. Like I do not want to be in your presence. Like I do not trust strangers at all. I'm walking on the street and I see any adult and I'm like, I gotta go inside. Got to take out my little stabby things just in case they want to kidnap me. Any adult, they could be younger than me adults or older than me adults. I don't know, but absolutely not.
I guess I feel that. Yeah, I guess with adults too. I never assume, especially if it's at night. I don't care who you are, even if you're like a 10-year-old, I'm not trusting you outside. Mm-mm. But when I say I don't trust people or I assume the worst in people, I think it's just because I've been let down. It's like I don't ever want to get my hopes up. And when I say that, like if you cross me, like I'm just done with you, I don't mean I'm going to speak negatively about you. I don't mean I wish the worst for you. Mine is, I really truly hope that you can find resolve in yourself and I make peace with the situation myself. And I wish you the best in your life and your journey. I just can't have you be a part of my life anymore. And that's so, I don't know, maybe like I forgive, or I guess I kind of forgive. It's just like I just don't need that in my life anymore,
Well,
you
what
know?
I've been finding that about myself is that, like, yeah, if someone brings it up and they want to, like, talk tea or, like, talk about it, like, I'll do what I said and be like, yeah, they did this and blah, blah, blah. But, like, most of the time, like, things like that, like, I get over a lot of things pretty easily now where I'm just like, it doesn't even live in my brain anymore. I don't worry about it. I try to just be like, you know what? If I'm worrying about it this much, then I should probably do something about it or like let them know how I feel about it. But it's like if I've already expressed stuff to you about what you did wrong and like you still think that I'm the one who like did wrong or whatever, I'm like, that's on you. You need some self-reflection. I am over here. I'm not going to let that like hold me down any longer. I don't need that negativity just like in my life. So I just like don't even let it live rent free in my brain anymore. It's just I'm over it. I'm bored with it. Unless someone wants to ask me what happened with this person, I'm probably never going to think about it again. So I'm just that's how I've been living. It's just because it takes so much energy to like care about things that people did wrong or that like crappy people. So I love talking about drama, but it's like unless I'm like having tea on the porch with my friends, like I don't think about things like that.
And you heard it here first, folks. Rachel has now become Southern. Having tea on the porch. That is a Southern thing, honey. That is not happening where we grew up.
I mean, I usually have hot chocolate or decaf coffee, but everyone else has tea because we call it like spilling the tea time. So it's a good time. But yeah, we have a little porch and we light a little candle and we sip some tea while we spill some tea. So it's a good time. We love the South. And yes, we're drinking hot liquids while it's literally humid AF outside because why not? You only live once, people.
Yeah, why not do that to yourselves? Now, it's back to the movie. I do want to say a fun facty fact that I have, which obviously this is, well, maybe it's not obvious if you haven't seen this movie, or maybe you didn't notice it. I don't know. To me, it was pretty obvious that this was a very character heavy movie, not necessarily the people that are directly like in the story, but there's a lot of characters and animals and things in this animated movie. Like there's a lot. Do you want to have a guess on how many human characters are in this movie?
Oh gosh, because just like the Talon scene alone, where they're like running through and people are pickpocketing and like selling and all this stuff. Oh my gosh! And then they had like the big commander meeting. Uh, 20,000.
There's 18,987 human characters that have been animated, and the non excuse me, the non
There were like 20,000 fish or something at one point.
yeah, in one scene, I didn't write it down, but it's either 26 or 28,000 fish. It was the most dense character wise for a scene in the movie. But yeah, there was 26. So the non-human characters in this movie, there was 35,749. Overall, there was over 70,000 characters that were animated for this film, which is insane.
I'm just trying to sit here and think like if I was an animation person, would I like that or would I hate that? Would I be like, yes, let's make this 20,000 fish? Or would I be like, why do we need 20,000 fish? Like, why are you doing this to me? You know, maybe it's just because I don't have an interest in doing that. Like, I love tedious work, but I think that's just a little too much for me. But what would
Yeah,
I think?
I think I would think that was dumb. But maybe they had, because I said there was over 900 animation people working on it, maybe they had 200 people making all those fish. So then it wasn't as terrible. But if you want to make like 26,000 fish for one scene, that is literally what, like maybe 30 seconds long. No, thank you.
I'd be like,
No, thank you.
you want 26,000 fish? You do it yourself.
Yeah,
I made 10,000 and you're going to like it. Okay? You're going to like it.
I made two. That's my limit.
Because I don't ever think about all of that usually. Unless I notice the animation, I'm never like, I wonder what the animators thought, you know? But I noticed it, like you said, with the people talking at times. And at times I was like, wow, that was like perfect talking. And then at times I was like, why does this feel weird? And I can't tell why yet. I don't know. Some of the people seemed really real, like Ba. I was like, he is a real person. That's not an animated person. And then like Raya, her eyes were like this big, so it's like obviously that's an animated person. It's like all the women were like that, or all the main characters, because Boone was kind of like that too, or whatever. Like all the main characters seemed like animated. They had some sort of characteristic about them, you know. The guy from Spine was like astronomically big with like a weird like box head and like whatever. Like there's different aspects that make you know that this isn't a real person, but some of them I was like, damn, that's a real person. Like animation is too crazy. I was worried it was going to be Uncanny Valley for a while when I saw Ba. And I was like, oh no. Oh no, this movie is going to be unwatchable if it looks this real the whole time. So that's why I think they have to make, you know, in Soul, he's literally the gangliest person I've ever seen in my life. You know, like there's no way a human has wrists that are 1 inch wide around. But then there's, you know, Raya with eyes that are bigger than her head and like whatever. Although Raya was like the prettiest person I've ever seen in my whole life. Like animated princess or anything.
Yeah.
I was like,
Whoa,
oh my gosh, hello, Raya.
you're
Like
beautiful.
she was so pretty. So I don't know. This was probably I liked the animation style at the beginning when they were telling the stories, and how it changed depending on what story they were kind of telling. I really liked that because it felt like the whole like, oh, these are our fables and stories of our ancestors and stuff like that. So I liked that at the beginning. I liked a lot of it. I thought at first that the names of the places were weird, like tail and spine or whatever, but like talon and fang and heart, like those ones were okay, I guess. But at first I was like, oh, this is weird. But then I was like, nah, maybe it's like I'll just live in this world and just accept it for what it is. I loved Sisu's human version. Did you love it? I thought she was
I
so.
did. And I love that it was played by Aquafina. I love Aquafina and so funny. And I love that she's just like awkward. And how you said earlier that you expect like this dragon who saved the world to be kind of like refined and maybe even proper. I don't know. Or maybe even be rude because you're thinking that, oh, well, I saved the world. Like, and Aquafina, or I mean Aquafina, yes, Aquafina, but Sisu is this most like down to earth, like let's give people gifts and let's trust people and ooh, look at this is pretty, like just really appreciating the world and wanting the best from it. And I loved it. And I loved her hair that was like as big as her body.
It was wild. It was so funny. And she was just like so weird looking, but like I loved it. Like she looked like an old lady, but also like a young person at the same time. I thought that the character design was really fun.
Yeah, overall, I would say watch it. If you have a little child, there is the Droon scene, which is kind of creepy, but besides that, I think it's not really scary. I do think there's a good message, but also, maybe just tell your kids don't trust everyone, but
Yeah,
try to work on your trust.
especially if they're young. Don't trust
Yeah,
everyone. Maybe don't trust
yeah,
anyone unless they're like kids in your class. Trust maybe that's like how you can phrase it, is like, when you're in school, there might be someone you don't like very much, but put your trust in them that they're just going through something that you don't understand right now. Things like that. You can change the message to fit your family, your group of people that you're watching it with, because I don't think it means to trust everyone, but I think it means that we can trust each other to make this world a better place. And I'm wondering, how we can do that as a society as well.
absolutely. Well, if you aren't watching on YouTube, you should come watch us on YouTube because, hey, gotta see our cute faces. Um, our YouTube channel is You Talking to Me. There's no podcast in there, is there?
I mean,
I don't think
like, you
so.
think you probably just want to look it up, You Talking to Me podcast, to find us, like, officially, because there's other people who think that they can use our name, even though
Yeah, how
they
rude.
came up with it
But
first.
subscribe to our channel. Hit that little notification bell so you get notified every single time we post. We have Instagram, we have Twitter, and we have an email. Our email is youtalkingtome@gmail.com.
No,
Email us with questions,
nope,
comments,
not it.
concerns. That is not our email. You Talking to Me podcast. I'm on a roll. Don't listen to the first thing I said. Our email is youtalkingtomepodcast@gmail.com. If you have questions, comments, concerns that you want to uh, tell us in email format, that is your way to contact us. If you want to see us on Instagram, we and me, wow, that was English, hard words. I was gonna say if you want to know little sneak peeks or things like that, I was gonna say we would tell you, but honestly, it's Rachel. So let's give it up to Rachel for running our social media accounts. Woohoo!
Thank you.
Our Instagram is you talking to me podcast, and our Twitter is you talking to me 11 because we're both number one. Woo! That is all of our socials. I think I went through those kind of fast, but you know what? That's the way I'm feeling at the moment. So that is that. Thanks for listening to this podcast episode. This is our last month of season 2. Stay tuned for next week. I can't remember what movie we're watching, but I'm sure it's very exciting. Okay, well, with that, my name is Hannah.
And I'm Rachel.
And this is the You Talking to Me podcast. Bye!